All right, let's see if we can try this again. Hey everyone. Okay, we're back. Let's see if the technical difficulties will work better. Let's see if this will work out. Oh, I'm really excited for the special guest that we have. QOP has been really taking a lot of intake, a lot of notes has been happening from last year with Hollywood and everything with the strikes and everything that's just been just a lot. But let's see if we can be able to chat through all the stuff that's happening in Hollywood with this amazing special guest. Hi,
Hey, good
how's it
morning.
going?
Oh, it's so good. How are you?
I am doing really well. Well, first and foremost, happy Black History Month. The first and foremost to start with, I'm just so excited for what 24 has in store because I know that last year has been just crazy. And just looking at your accolades and looking at the Black Beauty Project, which we'll also talk about the Black Beauty Effect, and really dive into what I really think that's happening a lot is just the change in distribution for TV, film, and social media, all the things. I think there is like a new wave that's happening. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and introduce our special guest. Tell us where you're from and just overall what made you become the storyteller that you are today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me and happy Black History Month. Happy Blackity Black
Yes.
Black History Month. Yo, my name is CJ Faison. I come from a city, small city in Florida, but that goes by the name of Ocala. Um, I'm always repping that wherever I'm
Yes.
at. I went to school. I went to college at FAMU, the best HBCU in all the
Listen,
land.
y'all
And
be popping up everywhere. Like
yeah,
from the West Coast to the East Coast, I do not see one person from FAMU from somewhere.
listen, we can go anywhere in the world and get connected to a rattler because we're just, that diverse. We are the thing that Hollywood fails to grasp sometimes is
Yeah.
that we're not a monolith in terms of Black folks. We're all across the spectrum. Um, and yeah, I got my start in this business through a vision from God, just to be honest with you.
Mm.
Um, Working in the finance industry, and I just felt like there's so much more I should be
Yeah.
doing. And one night, God placed it on my heart, and you know, placed this vision in me. And next thing I know, here I am, making content, living in LA, working with my big bro James Bland, and we had some, the fortune of Issa Rae rising at the time, Jesse Smollett, and creating Giants, producing that, putting it out, and that turned into its own cultural thing. I think we amassed over like 20 million views at that time
Wow.
on YouTube. Um,
Wow.
and that kind of, if I'm honest, I had done some work in New York, Philly, and Atlanta before, but if I'm honest, I would say that's probably the project that kind of really stuck it in my heart and launched things off for me and Face Forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, and so going into, at that time with content, I feel like there's like an era, like a different era.
Hmm.
Like for me, my favorite has always been like Robert Townsend. And I feel like even just aside from black men don't get the accolades that y'all do because listen, just as much as black women are creative, like black men are very creative too. And y'all know how to like, I honestly think that y'all are honestly the most in collaborating and bringing people together and it being such a good energy from the beginning to the end. Black women too, but I feel like black men don't get as much accolades. So shout out to every black man that is a creative and sticking with it.
Thank
But I feel like Robert Townsend's and the John Singletons and Spike Lee had their era, right? Like they were the
you.
ones that kind of kick it off.
Yeah.
And I feel like now with your era, like how you were saying, you was with Issa Rae and like, James Bland and like all the ones now you're kind of like, what do you feel like your like era is? Like your stamp, what would you call that?
Oh man, I have never had that question posed to me. That's such a
I'm a
great.
producer. I can give you good
Yeah,
questions.
I see. That's first of all, thank you for shouting out us as black men. I love black women, and that's my mission as a product of a black woman is always to, uplift and sing the praises everywhere I go of Black women. But that being said, as a Black man, it also feels good to be appreciated and recognized.
Yeah.
When I think about my era, man, it's funny, man. We are, and Issa is perfect timing. Issa just said it. Like, I think about going back indie again because
Yeah.
in my era, when I think about the folks that are just making it happen and just doing it, we are defying the system. We are making the system have to buckle to accept us. When you look at, American Fiction, that film,
Phenomenal.
and if you know the phenomenal film, but if you know the stories and the makings of it, with Jermaine Johnson, that agency, arcs, 3 arcs, excuse me, and how they made it, that's just an amazing indie film that just did really, really well. It started as indie, or even Barry Jenkins, and I just think the era that we're in is an era where the internet obviously makes things so accessible for
Yeah.
us, but you're starting to get more like-minded creatives that want to come together and see the value in creating work together. And so we don't necessarily look to, I would say, the box office for validation and those things. It's more so having that acceptance in the culture and from the audience that you're setting out to
Right.
serve. I think is huge for us. Obviously, you want to make money. Obviously, you want to be successful. Um, but the biggest thing is like, yo, what impact am I making, right? What's the cultural impact that's happening with my art? Because if we keep relying on the box office, so to speak, or Hollywood in this traditional sense to validate us, man, we will be on the sideline for a very long time,
Yeah.
waiting. So
And
yeah,
you know what? I totally agree because, and I was having this conversation in how I am in the background. Like, I'm in post production. Well, I started in the field. Well, I was actually an exec assistant first, went
mm,
into the field, did a couple things with unscripted, specifically reality TV. Shout out to reality. I know we get slammed on, but I feel like reality TV, it's storytelling. But then from there, I
yeah,
transitioned over into competition. Then I led into documentaries, docu-series, and then more heavily now I'm in post-production, archival, and clearance side.
for
So
sure.
seeing the back end and seeing the footage that comes in and having to put that together, you know, we are a lot of us in the field, but post-production, it's smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm,
And even for clearance and fair use, it's even smaller. So
mm-hmm,
seeing that side and how much it's really elevated to, like you said, like, people are not waiting on Hollywood to like really get, and we'll talk about distribution now,
yeah,
in the sense of like distribution is just not the same. I feel like people thought that you can just knock on Hollywood's door, wait, have your like script or have your like deck ready and you'll have like that big aha Hollywood moment. It's not like
right,
that anymore. And I think, shout out to your era, it kind of broke that mold in, now we can get distribution from social media with
mm-hmm,
YouTube and, I think other places with brands and how now, I think now even today's age, the capital of how brands are now even giving money to be like, hey, we
yeah,
can do content too. And now with, LeBron James and Spring Hill with sports coming into play, there's just so many waves of distribution and then also
absolutely,
film festivals too. Because now I've seen like a whole wave of like film festival documentaries having more celebrity and A-list talent capital in getting the distribution of stream and all that stuff. So
yeah,
following with how you had with your experience with the Black Beauty Effect, which shout out to that docu-series,
thank,
phenomenal work in how you storytell like Black women's beauty from face beat to hair to skincare.
thank you.
How were you able to kind of go through that journey and process and seeing the evolution of distribution as an EP showrunner?
You know, First of all, I gotta jump back to a few things you said. I think even in thinking about my era, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Black and Sexy TVs
Yes,
and those networks who really started championing distribution via the internet and the web, right? And
right.
even what Issa was able to do after the success of Aqua Black Girl and how she continues to champion filmmakers and give a point of distribution on social.
Yeah,
And even when we were making Giants, I remember folks telling us like, yo, if you don't have an A-lister attached, you're not going to go get brands. Brands aren't going to
oof,
send dollars, not going to do product placement with you guys because traditionally in Hollywood, that was how product placement was done,
right.
right? You have an A-lister and you have this indirect endorsement of likes because their product is associated with said film. And that still exists a lot today. However, during that era with the numbers we were doing via social, we
Mhm.
were able to break the mold. And I'll tell anybody, we raised over $250,000 for the second season of Giants, all
Wow.
just about through
Wow.
product placement at the time, right?
Right.
Um, and so that was a huge blessing. And now to move on to Black Beauty Effect, all respect and shout out to Andrea Lewis, who initially approached me with the vision, you know, and this series is a birth from her own lived experiences of being on set, working as an actress,
Mhm.
the nightmare experiences she would have in the hair and makeup trailer.
Yeah.
Andrea's been a actress for, most of her life, right?
Right.
Um, and for those who are listening and don't know, Andrea played Hazel in Degrassi, and a number of other Cadet Kelly. She's on that show, a few different things. So when she approached me with it at the time, to be honest, I wasn't necessarily interested in documentaries
Okay.
or
Okay.
producing them.
What was your path at that time? Was it just like indie? Like what was your lane in that at that point?
So at that point, we had just come off of our Emmy run with Giants. I had just decided to launch my production company because I recognized in doing Giants that there was a gap between a lot of Black creatives
Yeah.
and their understanding of the business
Right.
and the
Right.
things that needed. And that was something that naturally came to me as given my background in corporate America.
Mhm.
Um, it was all about me. I wanted to understand the business of Hollywood because it is show
Yeah.
business. And so I recognized that was a gap, and I that gap was leaving a lot of Black creatives exposed. And so I wanted to kind of help solve that. But I was really just interested in feature
Mm.
films because I'm not a writer. And so not being a writer, television becomes a lot more difficult to kind of maneuver if you're not a writer.
Yeah.
Because the producers on television shows, for the most part, are writers and studio execs.
Right. Right.
Um, Unless you're, Will Packer or someone like that. But even Tyler, when you think about him, he is a writer and a
Mm.
director
Mhm.
and an actor. I mean, he's everything, right? Tyler's a multi-hyphenate and a great
Listen,
businessman.
multifaceted.
Yeah, exactly. And so she brought the idea, and I just knew that beauty was something that Black women were keen on. I was aware of the power that a lot of these Black beauty influencers at the time had.
Yeah.
I was aware of the video tutorials that how they were so helpful for so many
Yep.
Black women. And
Listen, for
so
me,
for
my
me,
hair, YouTube University.
a lot of people are in that space. And so for me, it was just about like, yo, I get this. And so at the time, she had it kind of as a feature, built as a feature. And I was just like, the more we got into the development of it, I was like, man, just so much to unpack.
Mm.
And I think it was Carrie Shahidi, Yara's mom. We were talking with her, and she was like, I mean, is it the beauty world is just so big? How are you guys gonna boil it? And it's like, yo, we need to break this down into multi parts.
Right.
And even now, like 3 parts doesn't even feel like it was enough because we left so much footage
Mm.
on the floor. So
I
I
felt
got into that.
that a little bit in post. Like the post production of me was like, I felt something stuff needed a little bit more.
Yo, so much footage, and you because it originally released through Xfinity before it was on Netflix.
Okay.
They had commercials and ads built into it, so we had to cut it down to that 45, 48-minute mark
Mm.
because to leave space. And it was just so difficult to do because there's so many gems. I mean, the women and the men that are involved in this doc
Yeah.
are so dynamic and in their fields and their own rights and what they've done as game
Mm.
changers. But you know, it we came out with a product that we feel good about,
Right.
right? And
Right.
it feels like from a response that we've received, which has been overwhelming,
Mm.
that we nailed it. That Black women, Black men, Black people feel seen,
Mm.
and in the project. But that was a 2-year journey for me
Yeah.
of bringing that project to life, and probably like a 4 or 5 year journey for Andrea
Wow.
and bringing it to life. Yeah, so when it just happened that the stars aligned, I saw the value in the project, and I was like, even though I'm not necessarily interested in doing a doc, this is so good. I want to
Mm.
do it.
And so
And
for my biggest question for you as like an EP showrunner in different, tapping into different genres, where do you feel like you had grown from the experience of doing a doc style content compared to what you were accustomed to and were already skilled to do?
yeah, it's so funny, man, because a lot of people like to make it as if doc and unscripted and scripted, particularly docs, and are so different. But no, you're still stringing together a story. I just love the literal ability to tell a story through docs,
Yeah.
um, as opposed to in the scripted. But at the end of the day, we still have act structure. We still have points. The only difference is that you are, when you're interviewing a subject, you're trying to get them to speak to
Right.
certain elements that fit into your overarching narrative that you've woven together before that. And I have to
Mhm.
give so much credit to our showrunner for the Black Beauty Effect, Andrina Hale, because she's a very seasoned and experienced showrunner. And I knew with, the doc being my first one, I needed to
Yeah.
go and find someone that could really help me and guide in the ship. And so I really went and enlisted her help, and she really helped, make it clear for us in terms of how to string it together. But I would say that doing that doc has now opened me up. I've got several other docs that I'm producing right now because
Yes.
I just love giving people their flowers. I love it. I love it so much, being able to give folks their flowers. And I also see the art of storytelling that exists within, you know what I mean? A
Yeah.
doc is the same way it is and scripted. It's
Yeah.
still, you still have your arts.
And honestly, and like you said, like story arcs is really the heart of what it is. And then I think too, like how you said, being able to understand like how to format a story that's so much, you have so much you want to tell in this amount of
That's
time. And I feel like
right.
now in this day and age, it's getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Like back then, we were able to have 26 episodes for one season. Now it's down to maybe like 5 episodes. Like
Man.
for you, you were able to just, I seen on Netflix, it was like a 3-parter.
Hmm.
So for, what would be some tips for, future EP showrunners that's out there, or even people that are doing their own independent clientele? What would be some tips for you as like how to format different ways if you do a 50-minute to like a 5-minute? What would be some tips of like how to condense down or how to expand as a storyteller?
Yeah, for me, I'm always thinking about our audience. And in a world where, folks have so many things going on that are fighting for their attention, you got to think of, one, yeah, we could have made Black Beauty Effect a 10-part docuseries, right? If we
Right.
wanted to. But who your viewership would have started to probably drop off,
Right.
right? After about episode 4 or 5, because it's just a lot of knowledge getting spewed at you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like script is not. It's not like it's no drama going
Yeah.
on, so there's not a ton of it, right? So that's that's hard to keep folks' attention.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tell folks to think about how they kind of construct, if you will, their stories, right? If it's going to be a short film or short doc, it's still the same formula
Mm-hmm.
for me. Is like, yo, how quickly are you going to get to, act one? What is act one?
Right.
You
Right.
got to hook people, right? Then what's your act two, act three, act four, and five? If you go through a 5-act structure like we did for each episode, or if you go through a 3-act structure, which is customary for more features,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's all about like what is the most compelling parts of your
Right.
story. Now, if you look at those and you're able to get through them quickly and get to the point, then you probably want to do a shorter form of content,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you're going to be dragging it,
Yeah.
and
And you don't
nobody
want to do
likes,
that.
whether it's a film, whether it's a doc, whether it's whatever, no one likes to see art that they're like, I knew it was gonna happen in the first 3 minutes, and I just had to sit through 87 more minutes or 47 more minutes to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It, and so a part of that is on the creator to just be honest with themselves. And I just see this all the time when creators come in and they say, "Oh, I want to make this a 4 or 5 or 6 part." I'm like, let's raise this a feature.
Yeah.
Is that because at the end of the day, who's gonna come back
Right.
to watch this? I know that your uncle and you may think this person or this subject matter is so interesting, But the truth of the matter is, to the larger audience, unless they find the same passion that you have in a subject, it's not gonna come back.
Agreed.
They just not. So those are things you have to think about when structuring it. And that's usually the guidance I give. And after I review the materials and think, because I don't like to give anybody blind advice, but I'll look at something like, no, this isn't a multi-part. Not about the same person.
Yeah, not about the same person. We need some character development or something, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna get turned off. Literally, me and my boyfriend, we literally talk about that all the time. He's now become like his own critic because, like, now he's just like, "What's the character development? Where's the transitions? All the things."
Yeah.
But let's kind of dive into FaceForward. So, how were you able to, once you had amazing Emmy winning Giants, what made you have that like aha moment? Let me go ahead and do my own company, FaceForward. What is the mantra? What is your focus? And what are some of the, like, of course, with the Black Beauty Effect and other things, what are
Yeah.
some type of content that FaceForward would probably, dive into?
Well, to talk about FaceForward, I got to give you a little bit of the background and why I got into even creating content outside of the vision that came from God. And I'll be quick. My cousin, who's like one of the biggest influences over my life, he's like a big brother to me. He went to school at Purdue University after graduating from FAM. Purdue is in Lafayette, Indiana. That's right here in the United States. And I make that point because of what I'm about to say. He told me that there was some of his white classmates that came up to him and asked if they could touch his skin. They wanted to touch him physically because they had never saw a Black person in their life in person.
Wow.
Ever. That's in the US. This is 2011. And what that got me to thinking was, man, if folks have never had the experience to interact with Black folks in person, and all they have to go off of is what's represented in the media. And so that informed my decision to want to change that and want to say, well, what's on television right now isn't really a true depiction of Black people, right? Because we're not a monolith. Fast forward, we do Giants. We have a lot of success with that. Now people are pitching me, and I'm listening to stories and I'm looking at how they're pitching me and I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, there's a million people with good ideas. If I'm a studio, it's like, how do I like what is the differentiating factor? And what I'm speaking to is packaging, right? There was a huge gap, and I still think that exists in terms of folks understanding how to package their ideas and their projects. And so that read as a disconnect in understanding the business for me.
Yeah.
And that informed me to want to like formalize the consulting at the time, I guess, that I was offering a lot of these creatives and, create my own production company that I could attach to these projects, that I could sit with these creators and develop it and actually really have skin in the game. And so I was fortunate that my line brother, Tony Brown at the time was working for, one of the largest entertainment law firms. Not one of, it is the top 10 law firms in the country. And I was able to get plugged in over there at Manette, Phelps and Phillips, and they still represent me to this day. And they helped me really formalize it. I was able to get some representation at CAA, so on and so forth. And so now I had an engine behind me that could better serve the folks that I was working with that were coming with ideas. And, for us, we're all about telling stories, Black stories from the Black perspective, Black voice, but aren't just what you would say as traditional Black stories, right? These are stories that appeal to anybody, right? They are universal in their appeal and acceptance. However, we like to put a little bit of the Black spin because, as we know, Black folks inform culture, and I've been all over the world. And when people see how Black people dress, they listen to our music, they listen to our, you know what I mean? Black culture just permeates throughout the entire universe. And so for us at FaceForward, it's all about having that authenticity, but also showing that, Black people, we enjoy sci-fi, we enjoy horror, we enjoy all of the things that our white counterparts do. And there's no reason that we have to be the first person to die in these stories. You know what I mean?
Listen, shout out to the Blackening, because that was a really good twist, and Monkey Paw, all those that are bringing in an not even avant-garde, a whole nother spin into, like you said, what our taste is. It's like Baskin Robbins. We like all different genres as well too.
Facts. And I feel like Black folks in Hollywood's eyes had really just got, in terms of being the storytellers, had really just got pigeonholed into just being in drama. Maybe here and there they gave us a rom-com or a comedy, so we can make them laugh a little bit. But for the most part, there was a gap. There still is a gap, because when you think about the amount of Black stories told by Black writers, Black directors, Black producers, that number is so small compared to the amount of projects that are getting made. I mean, it's like 3%.
Why
it's
did I say
insane.
that same number? I said that same number in my head. I was like, like 3%. We're
It's so
always that
small.
number, and that's sad.
It's crazy. But yeah, there, and even now, for all the steps forward that we took, right, coming out of the strike of last year, I just had one of my producing partners say, well, how do you feel like we are? And I'm like, only thing I think is happening is that now it's just less opportunities for Black people. And Issa spoke on it as well, right? When you're seeing all the Black shows get canceled, not renewed, obviously the industry from an economic standpoint is going through what we call a compressing. There's a lot of consolidation that's happening. It's going to be even more consolidation that's forthcoming that I have, privy to.
Yeah.
And that just limits the amount of places that we have to tell our stories. You know what I mean? And then there's a disconnect between the execs and, that are buying, our stories. They don't get it. They're
they're
disconnected.
still trying to hire, we're still having conversations of how to hire a Black person. Diversity 101.
It's crazy.
You know what I
mean?
2024, 2023, 2024.
Yes. It's so crazy. And if you don't have Black execs or people that understand Black culture in these positions, or understand like what's kind of permeating and vibrating throughout the world, then our stories are getting, pushed to the side. No one's going to watch this. And it's like, yeah, there is, because I can't tell you, James was trying to pitch Giants, for a while, and the exec from one production company, I won't say her name, she came back to me after we had released and had a ton of success, because now we got 20 million views. We've been in every platform across the world that caters to our audience. And she's like, I was so wrong. And this is a huge production company. I'm not talking like a mom and pop shop. Like, if I say who they were, everyone knows the work that they've done. You know what I mean? But it just speaks to the fact that we don't have people that look like us or understand us in those positions. And as a result of that, our stories are getting pushed to the wayside and not being told. But I love what Issa said. Like, but why do we have to wait? Go indie. You know what I mean?
Listen.
Drum it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think the huge thing too is like the skills and like having the tool belts to pivot. I think having that double strike happen last year, at least for me, like I've been able to be blessed enough to understand the pivot at an early part of my career, and like how you said the part like earlier in our conversation about the business of entertainment. The fact that I was exposed to it also early in the like executive assistant side and seeing that language and the jargon they were having, like I was like, oh, like we can be good today and gone tomorrow. So how are we going to be able to shake it up? And so being able to now like be in documentaries where like it's kind of still like we have that like, okay, now we have distribution with Netflix and the, bigger stills, but we also have film festivals that's indie. I've been able to kind of learn like from even the clearance side, like there's still more work to teach, because there's even more like creatives and directors that want to do documentaries and want to do the things, but they don't even know how to clear their stuff or know the right releases or know the right outreach to be able to keep their creatives and their assets that they want to use to the cut and keep it all the way to the fine cut. So I think, for you, and the biggest question in regards to going back indie, for us that, for even some people are used to the Hollywood checks and the cater and the crafty, and now have to go back to the basics, what would be some tips for you to have to go back to basics? What are some of the things that we have to kind of recognize and then also kind of put in our tool belts?
Well, you're creating art, at some point. And so no artist can, you talk Beyonce as one of the biggest artists in the world on down, right?
Yeah.
No artist will ever tell you that what they do doesn't come with sacrifice, right?
Mm.
I am willing to bet that as much as she maybe loves going on tour, at some point in the tour, she's probably ready to go the hell home and just relax. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And so, all that to say that what we do requires sacrifice. And you have to think about it. I tell people this all the time. If you want to be rich, don't become a filmmaker. Because, listen,
Listen.
the chances of you being rich are very slim. Just being honest, statistically speaking, and so you got to ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? It's because I enjoy the red carpets. I want to live the Kush lifestyle because that's what you want to do. Go get a job in tech, go get a job somewhere else. And, you can still go give it an ads agency, one of the largest ads. You can do those things and still be able to get on set and still, live a cush lifestyle with a dedicated paycheck. If you want to create art, then that requires a different level of sacrifice. And, it's what comes. Like, what's important to you? Getting paid and having crafty, as you said, and living this cush life? Or
Yeah.
is it to create something that has something to say, that sparks conversation, that allows that little black girl in middle America to be like, wow, even though I sit in this class and there's not a lot of people that look like me, I know that there's people out in the world that understand me, that share my experience and those type of things. And for me, as an artist, I don't make my money in Hollywood. I've been successful in Hollywood. I'm so grateful. But even if I were not to be successful, you know what I mean? I already have another stream of income that sustains me, sustains my family and my life. And so for me, that allows me a freedom that a lot of filmmakers don't have,
Yeah.
but it also allows me to stay authentic in creating the art that I want to create. So if I'm fighting for a project, I'm really fighting, and I'm not so much so walking into a boardroom begging for a chance to have my show made. I'm giving them an opportunity to cater to an audience that can further propel their platform. And so that's
100%.
yeah.
Wow. Deep, deep. Listen, audience, if you ain't getting the gems that we have literally been spitting this last couple minutes, you need to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the future of FaceForward. We know that Hollywood is literally in its corpse, going through the checks and balances, seeing what they need to kind of recover from what's going on. Like you said, DEI is in the crisp. People like even our moguls are speaking out on some of the frustrations that they're going through in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see the future of content, and where do you see FaceForward in that?
Yeah, we're active in the future. I'll say right now, in terms of, Hollywood is all about pivoting to a model now that says, how can you do the same or more with less, right? How can you be agile? Because what Hollywood is going through in this reckoning is having to look at their books, having to look at all the padding and where's the money going, right? Why is this project cost so much more? And we've got people that are doing projects for a fraction of some of these budgets and having much more success, right?
Right.
And so FaceForward is already well versed in being agile, right? How to do more with less, and create stories that are compelling and authentic, but don't need $100 million budget.
Yeah.
And so Hollywood's in the space now where that middle size, that 10 to 20 million in terms of features, yeah, that's where it is. That's where they want to be. They want to sit in that space comfortably. And some folks, they're like, I don't even know, because most people don't know how to really produce, if I'm being honest with you. In this industry, a lot of people have nice titles and they talk in boardrooms, but when it comes down to like physical production and producing, there aren't a lot of people. There aren't a lot of execs that know how to run a set, that know how to assemble all of the pieces that, create. And we do, from soup to nuts, we know how to handle all of that. And so for us, it's just continuing to stay the course. We don't need to adjust much of what we're doing. We're going to continue to package. We're going to continue to stay diverse in terms of the type of stories and scripted, unscripted. People talk about, what are you special? We're across the board. We're about telling great stories. And I'm so happy that the world had a chance to see our first few projects, but we got a lot more to come. And the biggest thing for us is to continue to service our community, continue to service the filmmakers that are talented as hell and need an opportunity and may need a partner to bring their stories to life. And so that's where we're at.
Okay, I'm gonna have a deep question for you.
Shoot.
Marketing. Marketing. So I feel like, for us as a community, we are good at marketing, like, because sometimes we got to do what we got and we get the audience, right? But I feel like like you said, that gap. I feel like one of them is the marketing, in the sense of, like, do you feel with the fears of, like, the cancellations of like, just overall our history of Black content, from cinema to everything we've done, with the cancellations coming back and forth and left and right, do you feel that it's because some creatives don't know how to market? Like, they feel like sometimes, like, there's some people that make it too glossy and they're not focusing on the right audience, especially for you all. Like, Giants was, like, honestly, like, my favorite. And to be able to market it in such a space like YouTube, I feel like YouTube is like the blanket of figuring out who's really going to be your true fans that's going to stick with you. So,
Yeah.
what are some of your tips in marketing? Where do you see the gap in, like, what we're missing in the marketing part as a creative?
I don't think people squeeze the lemon enough when it comes to marketing their projects. I think people have subscribed to this kind of like 6-week rollout, or really leading up to the release of a project, and
Yeah.
then maybe, the project drops and people leave it. You know what I mean? There's not a lot that goes on. And I've never subscribed to that system, right? We released Black Beauty Effect November, Black Friday of 2022 on Xfinity. We released it in October on Netflix. We are still on the road promoting it. And that doesn't mean I don't have other projects. I'm going into production this summer on a feature film. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
have other projects that are in the gauntlet, but there's still a world of people that do not know about this project, right? And so every view that we can go, and every opportunity that we have to touch people and to inform them that this art exists and it's there for their consumption, and they can tell people, because people overlook the number one marketing thing that still exists, and that's word of mouth. Nothing surpasses word of mouth, right?
Yep.
And so for us, it's about getting out, being that catalyst, touching people, finding brands, finding strategic partners that will lock arms with us and give us the platform and the space to market our project, to share. We just came back from DC. Shout out to Eaton Hotels, Black Girls in Art Spaces. We did a partnership with them. We went to New York. I just got back from New York the night before, excuse me, where we did a screening with Babel Lofts in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Black owned, members club for, shared workspace. It's all about continuing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, to do that. We have one coming up February 15th in Dallas with an organization. So we just keep pushing. I don't think enough creatives understand the value in continuously trapping out your project. I come from the bricks, and where I'm from, if you want somebody to know something, you know
You got to make it work.
those are what we call transferable skill sets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's all about, for me, it's all about pushing and trapping out your work, because you did the work, right? Why wouldn't you want the whole world to know about it? And so, our work I walked the red carpet a year and a half ago almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of the
But do
premiere.
you feel like the joy comes more from the red carpet, or you feel like the joy comes more when you're with the people and you see the reactions of them seeing your work?
I love being with the people. For me, I know, people put a lot of value on the Getty image, and that's cool. For me, I'm more excited about having the opportunity to tour the world, and touch people and see their reactions. I sit in the theater every time we do a screening. Like, I stand on the wall, just to see the reactions that people have, because it's art. Why would you not want to see how people respond to your art, right?
Right.
And so for me, I love touching people. I love spending extra time with them, hearing their thoughts. I love it so much, because when you make someone feel seen, when you touch someone, you have now created a friend and a fan for life. And I use that word fan. I don't like it in its traditional sense,
Yeah.
because I feel like there's a hierarchy sometimes associated with a fan. Like, oh, I'm here, the star, and the fan's here. I use it in the fan in the sense that I'm a fan of people, and I feel like we need more fans in the world. And so, I'm a fan of someone is a sign of mutual respect. And so for me, that's how I view the word fan, and why it's so important for me to be on the road and touching and marketing my project. Like, you can never just leave your baby and hope that it'll grow. It
It
won't.
won't.
It won't.
You
Because
need to be,
people will
you are
jump
the
to the next
planter
thing.
that waters and keeps the plant growing
Yeah.
and growing for more and more people to, it's so funny. Like, it's interesting where you say that fan part. Me, I grew up here in Los Angeles, specifically in Hollywood, North Hollywood specifically. And, growing up and like seeing like the celebrities and like all this, like people think like I'm from here and they're like, oh, you see like all the celebrities. No, I don't. I mean, I've seen a few, but I don't. And
Yeah.
even then, like, you just have this sense, like, people, I don't know, people that are from California, from LA specifically,
Yeah.
we have this, like, humility. Like, we're humble. Like, you can tell the difference between, like, someone that's from here and someone that's, like, not from here.
I agree.
And, I remember experience I had going to Essence Festival, and there was, I think, what's his name? One of the twins, the comedians, Tory Guy.
Oh, yeah.
And so he had that documentary Fat Tuesdays. Love on Amazon Prime. And I knew he was like moving around and stuff like that. And the first thing I told him, I was like, I just want to say that your archival work on that piece was phenomenal. He stopped what he was doing and literally was like, oh. And we had a conversation because I wasn't so like, oh, yes, he's like a legend in comedy world. But the fact that I praised him on the little things that people didn't pay attention to of his piece, that made us start the conversation. And so I think for people who are in the audience for you, if you want to be able to go up to somebody or anything, pay attention to the little things.
Yeah.
Praise them for the little things. Like, don't look at the big, you see the big names and all that stuff, but really see like the work. Like, I know when I look at Issa Rae's work, I know when I look at your work, I know when I look at, Ricky Hughes' work when she does comedy with Sam Lathan.
Oh,
I know the difference. And like, that's because I understand and I'm like a student, like in the game. And do you feel that way too as well? Even though you are in the level that you are, you still feel that student like mentality in the game?
100%. I mean, you mentioned Ricky. I literally, she is so dope. But
she's amazing.
I love Ricky. But I remember talking to Ricky and getting some gems from her.
Yeah.
For me, I'm always a student because I don't come from this world tradition. It's not my background. I didn't go to film school. I went to business school. You know what I mean? I started working in finance, so that's been my experience in my life. And so I'm a constant student, like constantly trying to learn, read more, and pick brains, all of those things. Yeah.
Well, I will say definitely the audience, if you have any questions or comments, leave at the bottom. But I wanted to kind of leave and wrap out with our last question in regards to, of course, with Black History Month. We have seen the elevation and evolution of our like moguls in content. I feel like even shout out to, the Jesse Collins and being able to come into the award background and having like that moment of just Black Hollywood with the Emmys and the Oscars and everything. Where do you feel like for our community, where do you think that we are kind of stepping into in the future of entertainment as a whole? I think, we feel that a lot of stuff is being taken away, but I feel like we're diamonds in the rough. I feel like something is about to shake where we're just like, forget it. Like I feel like all of us are in a moment where we're just going to put the pens down and like, let's just come together and just really from A-list to C, B, D, Z, come together and just make something special. So where do you see the future of entertainment for the community as a whole?
Yeah, we got to get into the distribution, more into distribution, because people don't understand. I mean, our community doesn't understand a large part of the entertainment zeitgeist, right? It's world, just because we simply are learning now in real time in a lot of ways, and oftentimes weren't exposed to a lot of these parts of the business. And so I'm making my mission to talk to filmmakers and aspiring filmmakers and expose them to all the possibilities that exist beyond being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But I think for us is becoming distributors. You see Byron Allen trying to buy Paramount, trying to buy BET. You know what I mean? That brother is locked in.
Trying to buy since 1954. I've been seeing this man try to buy something. Yeah. Every year he is buying something, and it worked because I think he owns currently like the weather channels and some of.
He owns the weather channel. He owns a lot of networks. Yeah,
he owns like a lot of the little ones.
He is so smart because he recognizes the value and owning that distribution point. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so for us, it's one, and I see that, Phil. That's right. More education about the business, but also, just being able to own, because now we create the art,
Yep.
right? We've mastered that. We can create our own art,
We mastered
right?
that skill.
Yeah, we can create our own art. We can come assemble the pieces and create our own art. But then we still have to go back to Hollywood and ask for, hey, can you help me, distribute this in a way that I can make a meaningful return? You know what I mean? Because they still have the large advertisers and those folks in their
Yeah.
pockets, right? And so it's important for us to now kind of conquer that next piece. And I think that's distribution. I think
Shout
100% is
out to,
distribution.
I think a really good example of a company that's doing it really well is Macro. Macro has really made a, I shout them out because I did a project with them, but shout out to them
Yeah.
because last year, the fact that it was a strike happening and everything was happening and they were able to do They Clone Tyrone, a podcast, and a docu with Shea Moisture
Yep.
with the Next Black Millionaire,
Yep.
all in that summer. Like, they did their due diligence and stuff. And I saw Charles D. King's interview with the Breakfast Club. And that really gave me a spark on, like you said, we don't have to keep going to Hollywood for all the things. There's
That's
now
right.
other companies and independent people that are actually have the education and is giving the olive branch to those that want it. And it's like, I'm gonna go over here to that little tree and shake it over
Yeah.
here because it seems like Hollywood ain't got it together. Hell, Hollywood don't even know what race they want to put on the screen next. So,
Listen.
like you said, we have to be able to touch in every space. And I always tell people a good producer knows every spot from field to post-production.
That's right.
And I feel like so many producers do not know nothing about post-production. And it's where they really fall by the wayside because that's really where a lot of the stuff is made decisions, the notes come in, and really piecing together everything that you need.
Facts. A film literally can live or a project, let's just say that, can live or die in the editing room. Or they say the edit bay, but I'll say in the post phase of a project because, like I said, we went and shot all those interviews, right? And now you got all these gems, but obviously you can't put all of those in a project, right?
Right.
And you certainly can't have it just be talking head. And so the archival is so important. And it's all of these artists coming together in the post phase of a project to really string together, what the idea was in the attempt at execution or partial execution in field. And now for the full execution in post production, it's like, yeah, you got to be well versed in all of them or you'll draw the car off the road.
Listen, not even draw the car off the road. It's just going to be sitting there in the cold looking very dusty and not going to be distributed because you don't know the cost and all those things and the breakdowns and everything. And I'm going to tell people this right now. Here in 2024, as a person that has experience with archival and clearance, everything is not for free. And if you think you turn around and think that you're going to sneak around and go, there is people who will sue and will gladly sue. So you have to do your due diligence. This is the year of the word due diligence. Do due diligence.
You 100% have to. My clearance attorney gets all my praise and love and thankfulness because, doing a doc, people, first of all, let me just tell people, docs traditionally don't make money. Let's just say that.
No,
they
don't.
do not. They don't. And so when people see things released or distributed on large platforms, they just assume there's just millions of dollars sitting around and that, you've used my work and da-da-da, and it's not the case, folks. It's just really not the case.
It's not.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
It has been a joy to have you. Like I said, if you missed this, definitely we will have a recap at the top of the week. We'll have a recap video. But if you missed it here, I don't know what, you sleeping. I know it was early, but I know some people in here, we had some audiences. But it has been a joy and a blessing to be able to have you, CJ. Shout outs to you. Shout outs to The Black Beauty Effect. It is still on Netflix if you still want to tap into it. It is a beautiful project in the way that it is described beauty. I feel like there's going to be a part 2 because there has to be. I need to see the history of men's skincare, hair, all that. While I was sitting there, again, post-production in me, I was like, dang, I want to see the men's side. Like, how do they get the history of the soul glow and the beard and the all the things? I need that history. So put that in your little to-do list if you can.
I sure will. I thank
No,
you for having me.
thank
Seriously,
you.
thank you for the platform. Thank you for doing the work. It's so important for filmmakers to feel seen, and just have an opportunity to stand on a platform and have, transparent conversation with people that look like you, and just tell our stories. Because I play the background for a reason, but obviously everyone has a story, and if I can help one person in their journey, right, to creating film, and I saw someone in the comments say, they're not LA based. The thing is, just create right where you are.
Yeah.
Find a community right where you are and just start creating. Because the one thing that I've learned is that if you build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to build it and be so intentional about creating the work, creating your audience, and then cultivating it. And then folks will come, man. Hollywood didn't come a knocking on my door until I built something that they could say, okay.
Listen, you got the Rick and Mortar, and they were like, hey.
Yeah,
But you gotta
exactly.
think they broke right now. They are struggling. They are like SpongeBob running in the fire trying to figure out what is next, because they done exposed a lot of things that was supposed to be, that kept in the closet, is now coming out, baby. And now they're trying to figure out things. Meanwhile, as us in the community who's already known the independent and doing the work, we just have to do it 10 times fold and stand on business.
Stand on business.
Well, definitely, again, it was such a joy. And where can we be able to follow your platforms and or your content?
Yo, that's great. So we have FaceForward, face_forward87. Is that my Instagram? That's my
Listen,
Instagram.
don't text the wrong Instagram.
FaceForward Productions as well. Like you said, Black Beauty Effect is now streaming on Netflix in US, Canada, UK, New Zealand, soon to be in more countries that we'll announce and roll out.
Okay.
As well as Xfinity. If you have, Comcast, you can watch it on demand. If you don't have Comcast, you don't have Netflix, because I get it, coins is tight. You can download Xumo, XUMO, and you can watch it for free on that streaming platform. And then you can also see some of my other work. I work with a lot. I love doing shorts sometimes when I really believe in them. And so I just did a short a couple years ago with an artist, a director, Winter Dunn. It's on Issa's YouTube channel right now. It's beautiful. And Giants is on BET Plus. So yeah, you can see our work. We get around. We get around.
Listen, y'all are really popping over here in these streets, okay? Listen,
Work.
like I said, all this conversation was definitely not only just for EPs and showrunners, but for anybody who just wants to know the move and the wave that's happening in regards to distribution for not only TV and film, social media is coming into play, all the things streaming and all the platforms.
Brand.
So thank you, CJ, for really taking the time and just blessing our community with your words, your gems, and your advice. And I'll probably say the biggest thing is, what would be one takeaway that you would wrap us out with for today?
Man, hey, success is a journey. It's a journey. And I would say don't get impatient when it takes too long. Quote the great Nip. It takes 10 years, man. I tell people that. And some people, at least 10 years. And the people are like, well, so-and-so did it in a less amount. Yeah, but they are the exception, not the rule. And what we're doing, it takes a long time. You got to stay down. You got to keep pushing forward. And I know there are going to be moments and times where you feel overlooked. You feel like, yo, but it's happening for everyone around me or people that I know. Why isn't it happening for me? Just stay. Your time is coming. If you do the work and take your time and run your race, I promise you, it'll eventually pay off. It always does. The universe has no option but to conspire. And also understand that what success looks like for me may not look like the same for you. Or, you know what I mean? Success looks different for everyone. So the important piece is just stay down until you come up. Stay solid.
Wow. Listen, if y'all didn't come to Altar Call, y'all better come today. Well, it was such a joy to have you today, and thank you so much. we are going to wrap out the first of our IG Live Talk series for Black History Month kickoff. We will be so excited for our next ones we have coming up this weekend, and then our last one on the 21st. And like I said, QOP, we actually got some surprises ahead of us in February because we will be
Amen.
slowly transitioning, not only being a resource collective, but we will be having some huge announcements for a couple projects that we have cooking up. So, without further ado, like I said with QOP, we always love to educate, elevate, and collaborate. And I hope that we get to collaborate soon because, I know how to clear some stuff in Queen of Story. If you need some
Yo,
documentaries.
listen, stay by your phone. We got a lot working, so
Oh,
yes, 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 yes.
oh, I got you. I've been building up my skills on the clearance and fair use side and legal logistics, so I got you.
Perfect,
All
perfect.
right, then. Well, I will see y'all later. And of course, have a great weekend and y'all stay safe out there. All
All
right.
right,
Peace.
peace. Thank you.